Good morning, first graders. Today is Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. Let's look at the calendar. Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. And I've already X'd that day off. So today we're going to start a new day and we're going to talk about our vocabulary words first. These vocabulary words will help you with your new story. You have our reading book now. It was in your packet of work, so you can read along with the main selection whenever I read that story to you. But here's some words you need to know before we get started. Now, normally I put these words in ABC order for you, so you can copy them right into your word journal. Today I'm going to mix them up, and so I ask you to put them into ABC order and then put them in your word journal. So we will start with the word suddenly. Suddenly, the sun came out after the rain shower. Suddenly. Thought. I thought you did a very good job on your journal entry. Thought. Also, I would like some milk also with my cookie. Also. That's the other word that when we use the word to, T-O-O, it means also. Instead. I would like to go to the park instead of playing on my iPad. Instead. Spelling word alert. Saw. I saw a bird in the tree. Or the man had to use a saw to cut the board. The child did not know how to saw. So it means three different things. Here's the word early. Early means like before you even need to be there. I was early to school. Here's a word that has an H brother, W-H, whistle. Whistle. The boy liked to whistle for his dog. The T is silent. Whistle. Here's another word that starts with E. So when you are putting them into ABC order, you're going to have to look at the second letter to figure out which one comes first. This word is errand. I ran an errand with my mom to get some more milk. Errand. And another spelling word alert, nothing. There was nothing in the box. Means not a thing. Nothing. So those are your 9 vocabulary words for today. And the next thing I'd like to do is read the robust vocabulary story. That is the story that I read that you learn a few new words and then a story from another country. Today's story is from Japan. It is called Timimoto. Imagine that you were no taller than your little finger. What are some things you could do if you were that small? What kinds of problems might you have if you were that small? Think about those things while I read this story, and you can use some of that in your journal this week or today. Once upon a time in Japan, there lived an old man and an old woman. They were humble people. They were very happy with what little they had. They only wished for one thing. So the new word is humble. Humble means they don't think they're better than anyone else. They don't think they're more important than anyone else. I wish we had a child, said the woman to her husband. I would like having a little boy, even if he were no bigger than my finger. On that very day, as the old woman went to fetch water, she heard crying. She looked in the grass, and there lay a tiny baby, only 1 inch long. He was so little he was wrapped up in a red handkerchief. The old woman was overjoyed as she took the baby home. She and her husband loved the baby dearly. They named him Timmy Moto. Time passed and Timmy Moto grew, but not very much. When he was 5 years old, he was as big as his mother's thumb. At age 15, he was only as tall as her middle finger. One morning, Timmy Moto said, "I'm going on a journey to see the world. Do not worry, because I will return safely." Timmy Moto was so small, his parents worried about him traveling. They did not want to permit him to go. The word permit means they didn't want to let him go. They didn't want to give him permission to go on the trip. But they knew he was a clever boy and that the trip would make him happy, so they decided it would be all right. "You will need a way to protect yourself from danger," said his mother. She tied a sewing needle to his belt to use as a sword. "You need a way to travel," said his father. So he took a rice bowl and a chopstick from the cupboard. He gave them to Timmy Moto to use as a boat and paddle. "Be safe and stay away from the night giant who lives on the other side of the river," his parents warned him. Then they said goodbye and watched as Timmy Moto paddled down the river. It was not easy being a tiny boy in a rice bowl all alone in the middle of the river. But although he was tiny, Timmy Moto was strong and brave. As he paddled along, Timmy Moto felt something slap against his back. Turning around, he found a giant green frog. The frog's long tongue lashed out at Timmy Moto again. What a predicament he was in! The word predicament means a difficult situation. The frog thought he was an insect to eat. Then Timmy Moto poked the frog with his chopstick, and the frog dove out of sight. Soon after, the winds blew stronger and the waves got higher. One wave splashed over the bowl and almost tipped it upside down. The river was too rough. The only solution to this problem was to go ashore, and that's what Timmy Moto did. Solution means an answer to a problem. Timmy Moto got to the riverbank and climbed out of his boat. He noticed that all the people were on shore, and they were all running. He jumped onto a cart so he wouldn't be crushed. The man driving the cart saw Timmy Moto. "Ho, little one, you must be new in town. Don't you know what a terrible giant is coming when the sun sets?" "You must mean the terrible night giant," thought Timmy Moto. Soon all the people were in their houses and the streets were empty. No one in the village would dare be out on the streets after the sun went down. The word dare means to do something brave and trying to do what other people would not. Timmy Moto was all alone, and then he heard the earth rumble. He looked up and saw an enormous giant standing over him. The giant's huge, strong fingers wrapped around Timmy Moto, and he was lifted into the air. "Aha, nice bite of food for me to eat," roared the giant. He popped Timmy Moto into his mouth. Just then Timmy Moto pulled out the sword and stabbed the giant's cheek. "Ah!" screamed the giant. Timmy Moto leaped out of the giant's mouth and onto the ground. The giant ran into the forest, crying that he would never return. Timmy Moto heard cheering all around him as the people poured out of their houses. "You have defeated the night giant," they cheered. All night long the people feasted and danced to celebrate. When the sun came up, they went out to the dock with Timmy Moto. He climbed into his little boat, waved goodbye, and paddled all the way home. Now I'd like to retell the story, and you help me by answering the questions. See if you can answer them before I tell you the answer. In the very first card, what do the man and woman hope for? That's right, a baby. And how does their wish come true? She finds this little tiny baby, doesn't she, by the riverbank. Why don't Timmy Moto's parents want him to travel? They thought there'd be too much danger and that he would get hurt. What does he use to travel on the river? The rice bowl and the chopstick. What advice does his parents give him? Stay away from the night giant. What happens to Timmy Moto on the river? He comes across a big frog, doesn't he? The frog thinks he's an insect. And what is the new danger he encounters when he finally gets on shore? He finds that all the people are running away because they fear the night giant. What happens when the giant captures Timmy Moto? He pops him right in as a snack, doesn't he? How does he save the village from the night giant forever? The clue is right here in his hand. Remember what his mom gave him? He poked the cheek of the giant and the giant ran away forever. And so he saved the village. The last thing he did was he paddled home to his parents. So kind of think about this story now as you go on your day. And when you do your journal entry, you're going to talk a little bit about Timmy Moto and some of the dangers he encountered. There's just a little bit of a change to guided reading now. You are going to get 4 books. You've seen them, I'm sure, in your Ziploc bag. But inside the Ziploc bag also is a piece of paper called a reading log. There is one part of each page for each book, so there's 4 parts. And write a little mini book report on each book that you read, and this is called a reading log. So you'll write the title and the author and a little bit about the story. Just 1 or 2 little sentences telling what you heard in the story, what you liked about the story. The one thing you don't do is put, I like this book. Remember, when you say that, that's your opinion. We really don't want your opinion at this time. I want you to tell what the story was about. So you're going to read 4 books throughout the next 4 weeks and write 4 small reading logs. You can just keep those in the bag with the books. Make sure you put your name on it so that when you hand it in, I will know who did the good work.